Psychopaths and space junk, the two things that'll end the world.
Emergency landing procedure completed.
So this is Forever Sky. Forever Sky is a survival game set in a future Earth where we've polluted the planet to the point where the only place for us that's relatively safe is above the clouds, which is why we live in a space station versus living on the planet. In a lot of ways, it reminds me, especially the introduction here where you first come in, it reminds me of that old id Software game, Rage, the original version that came out in like 2011 when id was still id before Bethesda bought them, effectively. This Rage came out against Skyrim, just so you know. That's pretty much the reason why it failed as a game, because it was fairly decent, but it had a lousy ending. But with most games that can't come out against something like Skyrim, you get dwarfed, and that's kind of where it went. Anyway, so this is the world that we're in. We're in the remnants of skyscrapers, and we're trying to find a cure for a disease that is ravaging our space station. And we have sent other people down here through time to look for said cure. And we are the most recent person going down here, and we are going to try and recover what we can, and hopefully these people that were here before us have managed to make a cure. Now, like Raft, this game relies heavily on your scrounging abilities. By that I mean you're going to wind up running all over the place looking for materials. And it's not exactly like, this doesn't really do justice to it. You'll land on different locations. Think of this place like an island, because that's effectively what it is. An island in the sky, and you're trying to get materials to improve your space station, find clues to where to go next, basically. Improve your gear and stay alive. It is a survival game. Although I would caution you that there is very little things that you need to build at the beginning to maintain your life. So in other words, don't go crazy when you're first starting out, because you'll limit yourself as you go along. Now, the problem with this game overall is that, yes, it's a survival game, but it's a solo survival game, so you're running around by yourself. There are creatures you will have to fight in the form of insects and random weird plant things. And I will caution you that this is an earlier build of the game, meaning that it is not in its final form yet. It could still change before final publication. It is still under development, so it is still a work in progress. Now, the reason why I say this is like Raft is because you are literally harvesting stuff with your ship, which is an airship, that you'll have to build and modify as you're traveling along. And it's not a bad game. Overall, it's decent graphics, decent world development, a decent storyline, but it's solo. And it gets kind of boring in that regard, in my opinion. Where Raft, you can have other players with you. This is much more like all those other games that are more old school. I don't know how to put it other than, like, it gives you more of a Fallout 1 or Fallout 2 environment. You don't ever have like a companion that you're running. Well, I can't say Fallout. But you don't really have a companion. You don't even have an NPC companion that you're running around with. It would be kind of refreshing if they at least gave you a cat or a dog or something that made you feel like you had something else that you were taking care of. But it very much feels like you are alone and you are working by yourself, and everything you do is for yourself and by yourself. So, I don't know. You feel kind of lonely. The lack of other NPCs to talk to, of other people to, I mean, you find like the notes thing all around that gives you information when you're traveling, but the fact that there's nobody else that you really talk to gives you a sense of loneliness, even more so than like Fallout 76, whenever Fallout 76 came out and didn't have any NPCs, because at least there you still had the robots that you would eventually, find in little encounters and chat with. Some of them, but like this is just like you're literally gone back to that whole, here's a note, follow it, here's a beacon, find it, that kind of shit. And your airship that you first get is this one right here. And there are loads of dead bodies and loads of materials around for you to find and fix, and little systems for you to learn, like, how to process materials, things to do on your ship, how to make your ship run better, how to make it go higher, how to do this, how to do that, how to survive better in the environment, um, how to feed yourself. It's just, I don't know, it just doesn't feel, like I said, it feels lonely, which is not a bad thing. I mean, it really isn't, but it is also not something that I want to feel on a regular basis. So I put about 6 hours into this during the course of playing it. I by no means have I completed it. I have put the 6 hours in, and that's including like gathering material. Like, you don't realize how much time goes by when you're fishing stuff out of the sky with your laser, because you literally have a cannon that you can manufacture, that you have one of on your ship to begin with. But like, you'll have these cannons on the side of your ship, and I would recommend putting one on each side if you're playing this, so that you can fish material out of the atmosphere, and you'll be able to fish things like uh, big balls of metal, big balls of fiberglass, and you'll see them just flying by right now, of synthetic material. The only thing I could think of when I saw it was like fiberglass balls. But I mean, I understand why the metal might be going through there, because it's being blown off of buildings and things like that, and the wind is really strong. But the big balls of synthetic material don't make a lot of sense to me, to be honest. Um, I know it's a game mechanic, and they had to give you some way of getting synthetic material so that you could use it to make things like walls and floors and all that kind of stuff. But I'll be honest, I think they could have came up with something a little better than just, look, it's a ball of crap flying through the air. I mean, there are plenty of leaves. There are critters floating around all over the place. Um, Swarms of little like bird-like things, and that are just odd little items that you can pick up. And things that are like this thing here that you can get for your ship, that are in locations that you'll just randomly find them. And the one thing you're going to want to be able to do is, at some point, you'll want to be able to put a glass floor in, because landing your ship is kind of awkward, because you're seeing it from the steering column, so to speak. You're not seeing it from an external 3D view that would kind of make piloting a lot easier, to be honest. I almost wish that they would give you camera drones that you could stick out on the sides of your ship, that would fly and give you images of your ship so that you could better control it, if that makes any sense. And they could eventually get worn out or blasted, but that's a personal thought on my end. It's a good game, though. It really is. It's well built, well designed. Everything seems to work the way that they want it to. By the way, that's the mining gun that you got. And as you can tell, it'll like metals, synthetics, glass, all that kind of stuff. You can retrieve all of it without too much of a problem using this mining laser thing effectively. But yeah, it's a little bit convoluted. It kind of reminds me of the game itself, kind of reminds me of a combination of Raft and Planet Crafter. Both are available on Steam, by the way, and I think both of them are. I think Raft is in its final form, and Planet Crafter is as well. But this is a fun game. I look forward to seeing what kind of modifications they make to it, and if people generate, like the modding community, pick it up and start making little tweaks to make it better for themselves. Um, to see what really becomes of this game, so to speak. Like I said, it's pretty fun. I mean, it's a good way to kill time. It kind of reminds me of Minecraft in a way as well, but without the crappy graphics and the shitty story that didn't really exist for years until you make it up yourself. Um, so yeah, good game. Recommend it. Check it out if you can. I would highly recommend, though, if you're going to check it out, to make sure that you have a lot of time to kill, because it has a learning curve. And the piloting thing, I am not kidding. That has a learning curve. And building in this is more and less complicated than it should be. So keep that in mind. A lot of fun. Highly recommend it. Good game overall. Few little odds and ends that I would change, which I've already mentioned. But definitely fun enough to keep playing. So you guys have a good time. If this helps you, if you find it the game appealing and you want to give it a shot, go for it. I am by no means being paid by the company to review the game. I picked it up because it was something that I saw that looked cool to me, because I'm into survival games and I want to see, you know, where the next one's going to take me, so to speak. Because I am definitely not ever going to come falling out of the sky and land on top of a skyscraper so I could build myself a blimp and go flying away. It just ain't going to happen in reality. So the best I've got are games. So anyway, you guys have a good time, and I will talk to you later.